The family and friends of Tyre Nichols mourned in Memphis today, where they said goodbye to their father, brother, and dear friend, and underscored the need for not just healing, but some sort of justice.
This is a family that lost their son and their brother through an act of violence at the hands and the feet of people who had been charged with keeping them safe.
In the city that Dr. King lost his life, not far away from that balcony, you beat a brother to death. There's nothing more insulting.
I see the world showing him love and fighting for his justice. But all I want is my baby brother back. The only thing that's keeping me going is the fact that I really truly believe my son was sent here on an assignment from God.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess now his assignment is done and he's been taken home.
NBC's Antonia Hilton has been in Memphis for the last week. Antonia, your assignment is not yet done. You covered the service today. The vice president was there. What can you tell us?
Stephanie, it was a moving and emotional day, and the family had to walk a careful line throughout the ceremony as they, the first priority was a focus on the celebration of his life. It was really heartening to hear some cute and simple moments, things like how much he loved to eat cereal or hang out and watch Looney Tunes on the couch, how his sister loved babysitting him, even though she hated babysitting everybody else. Just those tender, sort of sweet moments that remind you that while this has become a national story, there was just a regular person behind all of this who had their life ahead of them at one point. But then the family also needed to make this funeral about their call for justice, their demand that something happen now, that he not die in vain. And you could see the exhaustion, the pain on many of the family members' faces throughout it, but also at points some joy and appreciation when Vice President Harris spoke up and said that she and President Biden were going to do all that they could to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. People were on their feet, screaming, clapping. It was a standing ovation kind of moment. And it was also part of the sort of Black church tradition of no matter what kind of gathering you're at, there's always a message, a higher calling. And they made it clear that while they're taking this moment to recognize his life, they have local, state, and federal demands. And so, of course, while they want this piece of legislation move forward, they also want to see additional officers, additional EMTs either lose their jobs or potentially face additional charges, as the DA has suggested could come in just the next couple days. They also want to see an end to qualified immunity. They want it to be possible for other families like theirs to sue police officers in the future and hold them accountable for actions on the scene. And so the whole day kind of walked this tight line between remembering his life, remembering all of his hobbies, his loves, his relationships, his family, but also realizing that they needed this as a moment to capture the country's attention and remind the country of the work they believe still needs to be done, Stephanie.
And that's the thing, because sadly, the news crews are going to leave Memphis tomorrow, and attention is going to move away from Memphis. Is there real political will in that city to make these changes?
That's the question right now. And I think one of the areas in which we might find out how much more will there is when it comes to some of the identities of the additional people who were on the scene that night. So we know now that there were these 5 central officers who we've all seen on video, but there were 2 additional officers we've since learned about, one of whom continues to be unnamed. The city has not given reporters or the family information about who this officer is, what their history in the department might look like. The other has been identified as a white officer named Preston M. Hemphill, who people who've seen the video would recognize as a person who brandishes a taser at Tyre Nichols and recommends that his colleagues chase after him and stomp him. And at this point, he's been relieved of duty, but he hasn't faced any charges for his role. And the family and all the folks here in Memphis supporting the family tell us at NBC News that they very much want him to face similar charges. And they see him as participating in the events that ultimately led to Tyree's death. And so I think when it comes to some of these additional details, we also are finding out NBC has received the personnel files of those 5 officers, 4 of the 5 of them having a history of numerous infractions that range from not filling out important paperwork properly to use of force incidents to one officer having engaged in reckless driving that resulted in a 3-car crash, which stood out to me as ironic because, of course, this entire story with Tyree begins with an accusation that hasn't been substantiated yet through any kind of physical evidence that he was reckless driving. And we find out that one of the officers on the scene ended up having to leave work for 2 days and attend remedial driving school because of their own driving incident years ago. And so, there's this moment right now where there's this gratitude because the pace of the investigation has moved more quickly than it has in the past. The DA has come forward and said that all of this is ongoing, but there's also this gnawing feeling that the family wants more information, wants additional action, and that there are more people who were on the scene. We can see them on the video. There's more than just 5 people who were involved that night. And the family has not forgotten that. And those questions, the community is going to be demanding that they get answered in the coming days. And I also want to say we're not leaving town tomorrow. NBC is going to have a presence here for days. I am going to be here throughout next week. And so we're going to keep pushing on this, Stephanie.